What is going on, everybody? Good to see you all here. Looks like Sharks in chat talking about how you took down the. All right, man. 2K in the 121 this morning. That's awesome, bro. That's great. What's up to K9? Had a bunch of good tournament lineups last night. Ended up making a little money on DraftKings, but not. Lost a tiny bit on FanDuel. Ended up a little bit positive on the night. It was one of those nights where I felt like it could have been better, but that's all right. We're gonna get into tonight. I'll start with my stacks. I am playing. It's going to depend on weather. We've got weather issues in a few games, and I am probably going to get out of here at 6:20 Eastern to make sure we have the weather figured out, because I like Chicago especially. I don't mind the Baltimore batter too. I wouldn't stack against Stroman. I don't like stacking against ground ball pitchers with control. But I do like Chicago quite a bit. Obviously, you know me. I love, even though Lyles has been better, I always love to pick on him because I think that he will regress to being the lousy pitcher that he is. I have some interest in some Cleveland bats, especially they just fit in at shortstop nicely. Both of them, both Rosario and Jimenez. But again, worried about that game. Oakland and Atlanta, that's a game that we have to worry about a little bit because those pop-up storms in Atlanta. So a lot of stuff to figure out. That weather will determine that stuff. But right now I have it Dodgers, Yankees, Braves, Cubs in that order. And I like Boston a little bit more on FanDuel. And I am going to go in that order. I do think this is the spot where the Dodgers could get right. I understand Cueto's been decent, and he's actually given us a hard time in the past. But I think that, look, it's cold there, but you got some wind blowing out, so it's okay. It's actually a pretty good history there, a pretty big boost to home runs. And the Yankees and Dodgers are my 1 and 2, followed by the Braves and Cubs. That's where I'm at. Good to see you, Peyton Wave. What's up, Sentinel? Good to see everybody in chat. Always come in and say hello. Drop in any questions as we go, and I'm happy to answer them. The pitchers that I'm using the most, again, going to depend on weather for the Cleveland game, but Bieber and Nola would be my 1 and 1A with Manaea just behind them. And then I would go to Anderson, and I definitely want to get some pieces of Cortez just because I can't argue with the results. I am not going with the Giants. I understand they're expensive on DraftKings. So let me just say something about Senzatella. The problem is how you score runs, okay? So the Yankees score 10 runs. That's probably 3 or 4 home runs at least in there. The Giants could score 10 runs without a home run, and Senzatella doesn't give up home runs comparatively. He gives up some hard contact. But for a guy who pitches in Coors, he's pretty good at limiting the amount of home runs that he gives up. So the Giants are going to be lower for me. Now, the ownership-wise, because of their price, I don't know how many of them are going to be crazy popular, but they're going to be higher owned than I would want to deal with as a full stack. So I am personally going against it. They did get to, for what it's worth, Senzatella has pitched against them twice, 2 out of his last 3 starts, and they did get to him in one game and 5 runs, and the other game he only pitched 2 innings. So I don't know if that was an injury or what exactly happened in that one. I think it was he got injured in the 3rd inning. But again, no home runs in those games. Senzatella's allowed 3 home runs so far for a Coors pitcher in a total of 8 starts. That's not all that exciting. Especially hitting in 50-degree weather. If I'm going to take a team in 50-degree weather, even though the Dodgers have struggled, I'm going back to my Dodgers tonight. So I am much lower on the Giants than the field is. And it is really the home run upside. And are we really going to play Jock Peterson over guys like Betts and Judge? Just feels kind of silly. So for me, especially with them having some ownership, I am going to get off of the Giants. And I'm pretty happy with the stacks I have. I do think that these other games are going to dictate a little bit of what we end up doing. I really want to pitch Ian Anderson, and I also want to take, when I'm not playing Ian Anderson, I'll play a Pinder or a Vogt. I don't mind a little bit of that. I don't mind because of the amount of how Eovaldi, even though I do like Eovaldi as well, but because he challenges hitters, I'm okay with taking the cheap, the Max Stassi as a reasonable catcher price and the cheap Joe Adell in the outfield. So I do like a little bit of mini Angels, but not like even more than 2 or 3 at the most. I think that it's more going to be just like his fillers for me. The same thing with I like Bassett too. But I also like, you can get the cheap bats for once we get the starting lineup, you get the cheap bats from the Padres that are just too cheap, especially Vogt. And at some point we'll start hitting, and it's decent enough hitting weather in San Diego. It's not great, but it's not terrible. So that's sort of my general outlook for the slate. I'm happy to talk a little bit of NBA if you guys want to do that. For what it's worth, I did post my bets, but I'll give away that I do like the Celtics tonight a little bit. I don't want them to win, so I hope I'm wrong. But I do like the Celtics a little bit. I like the under a little bit. And I think that Tatum is the most logical captain. And I'm just going to reiterate what I was saying before. I think you're going to see more and more little lineups with Bielica, and you're going to see more and more lineups with Gary Payton. So I'm going to use them as my value plays for the NBA tonight. Fire on any questions. Fire on any thoughts. I do think that the Giants one is one that I'm not scared of that. Look, if it beats me, it beats me. But I'm not afraid of fading the Giants in general as a fairly high owned stack. Although I'm still having a hard time on DraftKings understanding how people are going to fit the Giants in or why they would want to play them again instead of the Yankees or Dodgers. So that's just where I'm at. The White Sox do have a reasonably good bullpen. Cueto, again, can be tricky. He can also get a little wild with his weird little hesitation move and everything at times. So I understand if you don't want to go that way, but we do have some cheap bats for the Dodgers that you sort of make some things work. And you can use Eddie Alvarez just because he's 2,400 and should get at least a couple at bats. And he fits into the stack. He makes the stack work a little better. I really like Bellinger today. I really like Freddie Freeman today. And Justin Turner would be my other favorite. He hits Cueto and sees him really well. So that's what I would do there. No, the weather has not cleared up nicely at all. We're still totally up in the air on that game for the Cleveland game. These Braves are expensive, but you can fill them out with a Duvall is a one cheap bat you can use. And it's going to make the Braves lower owned than they probably should be in this spot. You got a bad bullpen, good hitting weather. Koenig, who could just go either way. Again, you could actually play Koenig. Again, a lot of the lineups I cashed deep in last night had the Marquee. I had a combination of Marquee. I had one Hudson lineup and Marquee, Springs, and the pitcher who almost got the win for Baltimore. Why can't I think of his name right now? But you can do some weird stuff. The problem is, I do think again you're probably going to see some big starts out of some of these pitchers like we did last night. We got the big Verlander start. And I think that paying up for pitching does make some sense. If you want a middle-ish guy who can get the job done, Tony Gonsolin against a struggling White Sox team has been pretty much awesome. Like 25 points, basically 20 plus points. Like what is that? 6 starts in a row. Not a huge leash, not as appealing as guys like Manaea, but because of it, not going to be owned. So maybe you play him with Manaea in a lineup or something like that. Again, we have huge weather concerns in the Baltimore game. No interest in the Baltimore stack whatsoever. I do think that Baltimore one-offs or two-offs or things like that will make some sense. I don't like stacking against pitchers that don't give up home, that are extreme ground ball pitchers, don't get wild hardly ever. And yes, he'll give up a home run or two, but in general, you'd have to only one start this year has he really been, I guess 2 starts, he's really been blown up this year. But even in those starts, only one of them, the last one against St. Louis, did he give up a bunch of home runs. You can run on him as well. So I do think that they're good filler pieces. But again, we need to get the go-ahead weather-wise because I'm a little concerned about this weather. There's some flood warnings in Baltimore. Vote on FanDuel, I think, is fine. Yeah. Would I rather Philly or Yanks in one lineup on a GPP? I don't have a ton of interest in the Phillies, but I do have some pieces of them. As a full stack, I'm not. I love the Yankees. You got Chris Archer, who's, he struggles with his control. He doesn't go very far into the game. Decent-ish bullpen, but just another guy. He hasn't given up a ton of bombs this year, but with the great hitting weather there in Minnesota, it's going to be hard for me not to go back to some of my Yankees as well. I think Stanton and Rizzo will be the lower owned of the bunch. I think LeMahieu and Judge will be the higher owned. Nobody's going to play Donaldson either, or Torres. Aaron Hicks batting 7th is the value that makes it work. Higgy at catcher, or even using Kiner Falefa as a very low owned option. I think the Yankees are a very, very viable stack today. So the Yankees and Dodgers. And again, I have some Dodger and Angels just as my only teams lineups. Hey man, I appreciate that, Sentinel. I really do. I always hope if it works out too. Baseball is a high variance game, so sometimes you never know. You might get people, what the hell were you talking about, this and that? But look, it's baseball. It's high variance. That's what we know what we're getting into. I really, but I always appreciate the kind words, and you guys know I play it like I say it, and you've seen my mock lineups, which is exactly what I'm talking about doing. But I do have the Yankees and Dodgers as my primaries on DraftKings, and partly it's easier if the Braves and Cubs games are in real concern, because that makes me feel a little bit better about getting off of two very, very good spots that I would want to attack. And it's always nice when you have a night where, again, it's not that I'm not going with anything unusual tonight. The Dodgers are going to be owned, but I don't think we're going to see ownership on any hitters go crazy unless we get these games postponed. And I do think that the ones who will be owned, Wilson Contreras, you can just pivot over to William Contreras at 100 more and play him in an Atlanta stack to be a little bit different. I do think the Braves will still get some ownership. I think that the Dodgers will get some ownership, and I think that the Yankees are going to be harder to own as a full stack. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So if there's nothing else, guys, I will get out of here, but I'm going to give you guys a minute to let me know what's going on. I'm getting really bored in this hotel sitting here. I'm excited to watch the NBA game tonight. So I'm having a beer, just trying to decompress and get this slate figured out. And I do want to hear Roth's weather report. I hate to publicize other sites, but Roth is the best in the business at the weather. So I do find that as a very valuable thing. And I'm happy to relay whatever in Discord and all that nonsense. All right. It looks like people are really nervous about the Cleveland game. The more I'm looking at things, so it's just a little bit worrisome to me. I would hope that we figure that one out. I really like, again, I don't want to stack the Angels, but just the fact that Eovaldi challenges hitters so much, and you could look at it. Eovaldi's only had one start this year where he hasn't given up a home run. He gave up 5 in a game this year. That's random, 1 2/3. That's pretty amazing. And he's given up, I believe he might have given up the most home runs of anybody in baseball this season, Eovaldi, that is. So I think that he is, while a good play, certainly somebody you want to get some bats against if you're not playing him. And I think the Joe Adell price, I think obviously Ohtani if Trout plays, and then I like the if we do, depends on who ends up catching tonight. So, but I assume Stassi would, and I assume Stassi would bat near the top of the order and be a really, really strong play at 3,900. That's where I'm at. Favorite stacks on FanDuel are pretty similar to DraftKings. A little easier to get Atlanta in over there. I actually have Atlanta and Boston because I do think using the bottom of the order with Arroyo and Dahlbeck works out really well and allows me to spend up for pitching. And then you mix it in with a Kike and JD, and you're in business. So I like the Boston and Atlanta over there a little bit better. I'm not crazy on the full Boston stack, but I do like the mini stack from Boston more than the full stack. Again, you could do the full stack. A 4-man is different. So not on DraftKings, I wouldn't play Boston as a 5-man, but I will play them as a 4-man or a 3-man on FanDuel. That's basically how I look at it. I do think that value is, and again, we're still guessing at what the lineup comes out as. We've seen different lineups from Boston when we don't expect it, and you also never know. They might move Dahlbeck up in the order. Arroyo might bat 7th, not 9th. You never really know exactly what they're going to do. They do sometimes throw out those weird, contrarian-ish lineups. And that's pretty much where I'm at on this slate. So if there's anything else, do we think Trout is in? My guess would be that Trout's out. I would be very surprised if he plays, but I won't be totally shocked. And I think we probably won't get that lineup until right around lock, unfortunately. But yeah, the only big difference I noticed it was that the Boston guys make things work a little bit on FanDuel. And as we mentioned earlier, guys like Stephen Vogt as a one-off if you're not playing Ian Anderson. My number one pitcher over there is Nola, but I think you could make a case for Eovaldi, and I think you could make a case for Ian Anderson. That's where I'm at on the FanDuel side of things. I wouldn't fall for this Alex Wood thing. First of all, the Rockies have been very good against left-handed pitching, as we saw last night. They really made Rodon work. He only pitched 4 innings. I think that might be his lowest outing of the year. No, maybe his second lowest outing of the year. But Alex Wood is popping in models and stuff. And I'll just point it out that he hasn't thrown 6 innings in a game this season. So he hasn't thrown 6 innings. You have the Rockies who've been good against lefties. So it's just not for me. Sure, at some point he's going to do it, but I'm not going to take that chance tonight. I would rather play Ian Anderson than I would take the shot with Alex Wood. Good luck tonight, everybody. Good night. Good to see Joanne back in here. Good luck, K9. Good luck, Peyton Wavy. Good luck, Sentinel. Good luck, Rich B. Good luck, Irish Wood. Good luck, Jim Steele. Good luck to I already said K9, right? Yeah. And I think that's and Sharks. And Sharks hopefully get another win today. Let's pop those in Discord when you win them. Maybe you did and I didn't see it, but I love it. If you get the win, we always want to see it. We love to root for our guys. So oh, look at this. And there's another one that I missed that was a nice little one for Debo who got the win. Let me just see this. All right. All right. Good luck, everybody. Appreciate all you guys. I will talk to you shortly. Good luck. Hey. Hello?
Hey, Bobby. Hey.
Hey.
How's it going?
Sorry, hold on.